I'm ZGALA, the Art Angel. You can call me Auntie Angel if you like. And this is the Fit and Free Show. And today I want to talk about some breath work that I frequently do and have suggested to other people many times over the years. I would say pardon the noise in the background, but I think this is a perfect demonstration of how often there's things going on in the outside environment that we can't control. I don't even know if you can hear. My neighbors are putting up a frame for their new garage. So there's a lot of drilling and banging and clanging going on. And a lot of times things are going on in the outside environment, maybe not that extreme, maybe more extreme, that lead us to think, well, I can't possibly concentrate, I can't possibly meditate, I can't find my own inner peace because of all this external stuff going on. And the truth is that if we let every external thing that we notice override our own desire to find peace and love in ourselves, then we're going to constantly be basically in an internal battle, at war, as they say. And so I think it's a great thing when there's something very obvious like the construction next door to reflect on for myself. And this morning while I was doing my regular 12-minute breathing meditation, I was tempted to fall into that same train of thought that I was just mentioning, where I was thinking, oh, it's very hard to concentrate on my breathing and aligning myself to coherence when there's all this loud noise going on. But the truth is that it's actually a perfect time to practice that, because it's in overriding those external distractions and refocusing. It's kind of a continual thing. Like, it's not like those distractions won't pull your attention away, but the practice is about bringing your attention back and your coherence back. So instead of thinking about it and revving up an emotional state where you're dissatisfied or you're angry or you're, blaming and shaming others, it's a perfect opportunity to reflect on, what do I really want? What I really want is to find my own inner coherence in any circumstances. And so practicing that while there's an external distraction is actually perfect. And with that thought, I can not only bring my awareness back into my own body as many times as it takes, but I can also feel an internal smile and a sense of appreciation for these external factors which give me that opportunity to practice it. So back around to what's called, it's not just what I call it, it's called box breathing. And this is a very simple breathing exercise that anyone can do at whatever level you're at, and it can help bring more heart and mind coherence into the body, as well as help strengthen your heart, help strengthen your mind. It's great practice in general, and it is the most common technique that I use when I'm feeling dysregulated and or when I want to really dive deeper into my own inner coherence, as in with my meditations. I used to do meditations of just sitting and listening to the body, and that's a perfectly great thing as well. But what I found was I would often latch on to a thought process that I had habitualized and then end up in an emotional state that was like revving up that thought process by the time I finished my meditation, instead of reaching into a more peaceful, coherent state. So for me, box breathing is a wonderful tool that I use while I'm meditating to help give my brain a thing to focus on so that I can reach for that coherent feeling in my body, if that makes any sense. Let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. So I think one of the things that I think is the best about there are several aspects of box breathing that I think are helpful, and one of them is just the breathing itself, extending the lungs, expanding and contracting in the body. That's very useful, and making that longer and longer, deeper and deeper, also useful. But I think on the surface, the first thing that's helpful about it to me, with the aforementioned overthinking tendency that I have, is that I count internally, and that gives my brain a thing to latch onto instead of thinking about all these other distracting thoughts. So I'm just going to walk you through a box breathing exercise, and and you can let me know what you think. So box breathing, let me just start by defining it, is where you breathe in for a certain amount of time, you hold for a certain amount of time, you exhale for a certain amount of time, and you hold that exhale for the certain amount of time in like a square, so even amounts of time. And since I usually do it with my eyes closed, I use counting to keep track of that time. It's not perfectly precise, but it's close enough. So one cool thing about box breathing is you can start with wherever you are. So if you breathe in 1, 2, that's fine. Then hold 1, 2, then exhale 1, 2, then hold that exhale 1, 2. Oh, I didn't hold there. Let's start again. Breathing in, 2, holding, 2, 2, holding, 2. And then after you do a few cycles of that, or if that's helpful, just stay right there, I try to extend, expand, lengthen, expand that box, so to speak. So personally, I usually start with a count of 4. Sometimes it's probably a little faster or slower. Some people probably start with 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 3 or 2. Again, it doesn't really matter. You start with wherever you are. It's perfectly great. So if I start with a 4 and then hold 3, 4, and then exhale 3, 4. It's hard to do and talk at the same time. And hold, exhale 3, 4. Then I will do a few cycles of that, and I will slowly expand it. Whatever feels comfortable. I've been kind of fascinated by how, for me, the bottom hold is actually the hardest part for me to hold, and I get tempted to breathe in prematurely, and then I just force myself to exhale a little bit more, which might be cheating. There's really nobody else but me keeping track. It's for me and my body, so that's fine. I usually, in the 12 minutes that I do in the morning, I used to do like 3 to 6, and now I'm where I usually start at a 4 or 5, and then I usually end at a 7 or 8. So that's sort of, in my mind, a gamified approach, because our brains love to gamify things. And again, there's not one way. There's nothing is definitely better than another. It's really about trying to control your breathing, expand and deepen your breathing. And so in that regard, it is rewarding, self-rewarding, when you can expand that box. So from a 3 to a 4, I'm using that visual, but to a 8 might look more like that if we were drawing the box with even spaced lines for each count. So it's helpful to start with a couple deep breaths. I'm going to just try to walk you through. As I just mentioned, it's kind of difficult to focus on the breathing and talk at the same time. So maybe I'll use my hands. How about that? We'll start with 3 and we'll work up to 5. Let's see if I can do that. So breathing in, holding, exhaling, holding, Breathing in. Holding. Exhaling. Holding. Breathing in. Holding. Exhaling. Holding. Breathing in. Holding. Exhaling. Holding. That's a quick demonstration, but I think you get the idea. Again, it's easier to do when you're able to just close your eyes and count silently to yourself. So I'm going to leave it to you to practice. If you want to share any questions or comments or thoughts in the description, I would love that, and I will do my best to respond to everybody. Yeah. I find this a very valuable, helpful tool. It's easy to use anywhere. Even if you just do one round of it, you know, if you're feeling dysregulated, you can just focus on that breathing and counting. See where you get to. Often if I'm dysregulated or feeling uptight, sort of, you know, out of my body, it might only be a 2 or a 3. And then by holding that same amount and exhaling deliberately that same amount, holding that exhale, by the time I get through just even one round, sometimes I've brought more awareness into my body. And certainly by 4 or 5 rounds of that, I start to feel a difference. And I can attest that in 10 or 12 minutes of doing this in the morning, which is a great time frame to aim for, by the way, I'm able to reach like a very elevated energetic state where I'm seeing colors in my mind. I'm feeling blissful and ecstatic. I'm able to expand that box from, as I mentioned, like a 4 count to an 8 count. And I can feel my heart and mind reaching more coherence, which is really one of the main keys to living a full, vibrant life in this body. So I hope that helps somebody. I thank you for being you and letting me be me. I thank you for stopping by. I thank you if you like and subscribe, because that helps me out a lot. Thank you if you leave a comment. If you're interested in this structure around me, by the way, this is called the Head Hutt. I built it with these 2 hands, and then I wrote a book about it. And that book is on Amazon, called the Head Hutt with 2 T's. And you can find a link to that in the description below. As always, stay curious, stay courageous. Hopefully get more fit so you can be more free. And I'll be seeing you soon. Ciao for now.